Stanley stood for a long time in one spot. It's part of a game. He likes to see how long he can go without dying. So far, he's doing excellent. And if he just stays right where he is, I'm sure he'll keep up that good momentum. Let's observe the genius at work.
If you're a 3D gamer who likes to fiddle with their settings the first time they run something, this game will make fun of you. Like it just did to me right now. I was just adjusting the focus so that it's not automatic. And turns out the narrator finds that funny that you stand there in one spot. This is the Stanley parable. And it's a heck of a gem that you can get yourself on Steam. And a game that I would highly recommend. Now let's take a look at this.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Nope, nobody here. Still nobody.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
You know what? Fuck the door on my left.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Well, one thing I can drink in from this game is the depth of the 3D. I'm actually gonna elaborate on this a little later.
Really, really worth it.
Let's have this guy make fun of us a little bit more.
Room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Now, if you have Tridef Ignition, you should find the profile for this game built in the latest version.
And reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left.
Okay, I think he's almost done making fun of me.
Stanley sat around waiting for more dialogue, but when a long time had passed and there was no more, he decided that the game was trying to send him a message.
Alright, so if you have the latest version of Tridef Ignition installed, you're going to find the profile for this game built into the software. You won't have to get anything custom. And you're going to notice right off the bat, the first thing, the depth is incredibly intense. It's very realistic, it's beautiful. However, the way it's adjusted, it's almost certain that every user will need to adjust it to their comfort level, because it's really a generic adjustment, yet it's very intense. So when it comes to intense depth, it's good to customize it for yourself. In fact, the thing I personally like to do is to set myself a custom focus so that the focus doesn't jerk around as you're playing the game. I got my near plane set at 70, my far plane set at 100. It's the default setting when you turn on custom focus. I got my scene depth at 35% in front of 30. That's how I like it. You might want to work off of that. But all you got to do is use the built-in profile and work your way from there. Here.
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
Should I? Should I? Let's fuck with this narrator.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Oh boy. Alright, here I am in some storage room. I've been here before. I've obviously tested this title a few times. Having a little fun here. Let's go on the lift. See what happens. Last time I jumped on that balcony.
On the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really. I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about.
Whoa.
Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself.
Redeem myself?
To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Who the fuck is he talking about? Let me in. Wow. It's just with the depth and the very good quality of the graphics. By the way, this game started off as a Half-Life mod and sort of became a title of its own later on, and it still uses the Valve Source engine, which produces incredibly realistic graphics. I mean, looking down this room here, this looks like my TV's a window right now. Literally, like that the room is really there. That's really cool. And yeah, this is not VR, this is just 3D on the monitor, and it is really immersive with this quality of depth. I mean, it's not just that the depth is intense, there's a quality to it. It's realistic. I truly enjoy. I was beyond surprised, and I knew it would work, but I was beyond surprised when I saw it come out like this. What the what? Whoa.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her.
What?
If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
I picked up the freaking phone. What the hell?
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on.
What?
Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Really? Wow. The shit is this?
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
What?
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do.
Fuck you!
Now he's pushing a button.
It's making fun of me again!
He's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
What?
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
What the
So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
What the
As
fuck?
he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls, and down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions, and down another was a game with a baby, and he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
What the
But
fuck?
there is no answer. How could there possibly
Of course,
be?
the wife goes
In
away.
reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
All right, let's see what happens if I listen to this asshole. This title is just awesome. You see, now it's just gonna make me freaking wait like a dumbass because it's picking on me. It's messing with me. Look.
You see? Can he just not hear me?
Oh, you
In
asshole.
a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself. How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again. And
What the
Stanley
fuck?
pushed a button. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
What the I think it just killed me, man. This is what the Stanley Parable is all about.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Basically, if you listen to everything the narrator tells you to do, there's one ending, and that's the one I figure, you know, players would try first. If you don't want to see that ending, of course, spoiler alert, but it's really the first one you see, and it's probably the shortest way to end the story, aside from a few ways of killing yourself by jumping down
Stanley
ledges.
realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Oh, look at that.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Now again, I remind you, spoiler alert, this is one of the endings. If you don't want to see it, you can go ahead and stop. I actually went through a pretty good part of the path so far, so this is pretty much where the story will end.
Source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. Blackness, and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know.
Wow.
It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Look at that. Simple graphics, but the artwork is just beautiful.
Stanley felt the cool breeze
and the
upon
depth
his
is
skin,
awesome.
the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
So, in conclusion, it's pretty simple. Get this title. Now, the reasons are simple, and there are three of them. The first one is it's inexpensive. I mean, I've bought smaller, less good games for the same amount of money. It's $15. It's a no-brainer pick. You can even pick it up alongside another game if you want. It really doesn't cost that much. Secondly, the stereoscopic 3D is just awesome. If you're a 3D gamer, these are the graphics we're all looking for when we're gaming in 3D. And third, and most importantly, this game is incredibly original. The most casual of gamers, in fact, non-gamers could actually pick up this title and enjoy it as much as your most hardcore connoisseur gamer. So really, it's a perfect fit for anybody. I'd be really surprised that this title disappoint you. My final score for this title is an 8.5 out of 10. Now, I can't rush it all the way to 9. It's not a complex enough title. It barely actually has any actual gameplay. That's what's impressive about it and original, but at the same time, I don't want to rush the score too high and get some people disappointed. Giving it a good 8.5. That includes the fact that the 3D works really well. It includes the consideration for the price. So it should be on the top of your list of stuff to get on your secondary time, because I know that we all pack our Steam libraries with like dozens upon dozens, if not hundreds in some cases, of titles that we end up not having time to play, but this is one you need to add to your list, and it's each play experience is short enough for you to find the time to actually go through it a few sessions. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this review, and that was the Stanley Parable.